Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Wanted to start out by saying a few words. I'm Carl Holvik. I am the Associate Director for Stakeholder Engagement for the Schwarzman Center. And it's my honor to have everyone here. We've got some amazing artists, some incredible folks that work for the center, and I can't wait to introduce y'all. But before we get started with that, I just want to say a few words about the state of Connecticut and Yale University occupying the ancestral, current, and future lands of the Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Skagatoke, Golden Hill Puggasset, Neantic, Quinnipiac, and other Algonquian-speaking peoples. We honor and respect their stewardship of this land. I introduced myself. I also want to shine a light on an amazing organization. It's a new cultural arts center that's being founded here by a local New Havener. Her name is SC Murray, and she is founding the Sweet to the Soul Art Center on the verge of East Haven and Branford. It's an incredible new center. SC is a local playwright and director, an incredible organizer. If you have any interest in any kind of creative aspects and getting in touch with some of the amazing work that happens here in Greater New Haven, please check out Sweet to the Soul. So now it's my pleasure to introduce the artistic director for the center, Jennifer, if you don't mind coming on and saying a few words here.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here. I'm currently in Brooklyn, New York, the past, present, and future lands of the Lenape people. Happy to be here. And I'm just thrilled that today we get to share these works that, thinking about what we've all been through in the last year and a half and what we're now entering as we continue to sort of pass through these moments of time and these transitionary spaces, and to be able to take a moment to reflect on work that was made during the pandemic, I think is just it's an incredible opportunity to reflect and to think about how we will move forward as we enter into this next phase. So it's a real pleasure to be able to hear from the artists directly. For me, sitting through it and going through the work, it was just incredibly moving to take a step back and to sort of go through someone else's experiences. So I'm very grateful to all the artists who took the time to engage with Schwarzman Center's online programming, being the first really, going for it, and being our brave pioneers in that respect. Very much appreciative of you all taking your time to be here with us today and to share your work out with the rest of the world. So I think with that, I will let them do the talking, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say. Thanks, Carl.
Beautiful. All right. So we want to welcome all our incredible artists here. If you don't mind jumping on screen, and thanks for the love and chat we're getting from where people are coming from. It's so interesting to see. Can we start introducing folks? Nikki, you want to take it away?
Sure, definitely. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. Really excited to share the work. My name is Nikki Huang. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am a current MBA student. I'll be going into my second year next year.
Chang, you next?
Sure. Yeah, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Chang Su. I am a fourth year medical student. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm about to graduate on Monday and start my residency here at Yale New Haven Hospital.
Beautiful. Michaela and Noah, I hope you're there too. All right. Michaela, what do you go next?
Hi, I'm so excited to see everyone here. I'm Michaela. I'm an undergrad at Yale and Benjamin Franklin College, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Lovely. And Noah, want to round us out?
My name is Noah Humphrey, pronouns he and his. Again, I am a second year Yale divinity student.
Incredible. And of course, last but not least, Alice, just really round us out here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alice, she, her, hers pronoun. I'm an undergrad in Morse College and a rising sophomore, and I'm an art major, concentrating in painting and printmaking. Really excited to be here.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to start sharing some of the pieces here with everybody. Nikki, is there anything that you can say about your piece?
Sure, definitely. So I can start by saying that I was a visual arts major in college. I went to Duke University. And so I ended up in my senior year doing a thesis that focused a lot on public and performance art and utilized my body and my identity as an Asian American woman as the main center point. And I think that's something that I really like to return to in my work. And I think that's part of what you see in the work here. I will mention that there are descriptions with each picture that provides a little bit more context. So if you do have some time and want to see more, take a look at the photos on the website. But I think overall, the pandemic has just been a really wild time. And I think that, you know, I'm 28 now. I think I was at a point when I first started grad school this past year where I thought, I understand who I am and I know myself and I know what I'm doing. And then being in this environment and just meeting so many different people during a global pandemic was extremely challenging and honestly, just for lack of better words, really rocked my world. And thankfully I heard about this project around the same time. So I was able to channel that into these photographs, which I don't think he's on the call, but Brandon Galang helped me photograph. He's a really amazing photographer. But I think they were all just parts of different things that I was trying to explore from, you know, these new relationships that I was developing, people that I just felt instant connection to that I hadn't felt in a while, all the way to, for some reason, not being able to sleep for several months and losing 20 pounds. And for no reason. So I think with all that change, it was just a lot of what I was trying to explore was how I've realized that I'm still changing. And that is a consistent thing in a way where I can see myself in various lights over time.
So beautifully put. Thank you so much for sharing all that, for sharing your story and your creativity and talent and art with us. Oh, wait, I do see a hand raised actually. Jennifer, did you want to jump back on? I think you can jump on camera if you want.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a question as Nikki, I had watching that work and hearing you talk about it just now. One of the questions I had was about sort of period of time and changes, and how is it for you to reflect back on that and to see what were the changes that you see now looking back, and do you feel now that there's a next layer of work for you, or are you in a place of reflection? Just curious about that.
So I think when I made them at the time, I was really thinking about what I wanted my life to look like in a lot of different ways, right? I was going to grad school. I was in an MBA program. I don't know if I fully believe in capitalism, and yet I'm here. So trying to understand what all of this meant was just something that I was grappling with and led to a lot of these photos. In addition, I've been with my partner for 4 years now, but have been interested in thinking about what an open relationship could look like. So that was another part of this series and this work. I think right now, actually in the winter, there was a really negative time in my life where I went into a pretty depressive state. But now coming out of that with the weather being better, I think in terms of my art and what I'm hoping to do is continue exploring what I've been setting out, but with more confidence and understanding of who I am, because I do think that has been reinforced through this work and through this year. I know that there are different parts of me that are conflicting, yes, but they can still coexist, and I have to recognize and understand all parts of that. So I haven't been doing that many new photographs, but I have been working a little bit on some spoken word and writing pieces, which is also something I really enjoy. So I'm hoping to continue that and keep thinking about, you know, what else life brings me that I can put into a photograph or into a story.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Nikki, for sharing that journey that you went with us. And, I'm going to share our next piece. So Mura Tuffy, she can't actually be here, but she has a video piece that she's going to tell you a little bit about and share with y'all in one moment here.
Hello, my name is Mura Tuffy. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am a second-year Master of Music in Choral Conducting student at the Yale School of Music and Institute of Sacred Music. While I am so sad that I cannot join the virtual space today to celebrate all of these amazing collaborations, I am excited to briefly share a little bit about Hear My Prayer, Engaging Choral Music and Dance, which is the next collaboration you will hear. And I wanted to say thank you so much to all of my collaborators who participated and worked so hard on this project. Camilla Tassi, videographer and video designer, Madison Vomistek, choreographer, and the 8 amazing singers who sang their hearts out. For this piece, Hear My Prayer, I decided to go to the roots of something that's been really interesting to me, which is the pairing of choral music and dance. And most of the times when you hear sacred choral music, it's typically in Latin or Italian, or it's in a setting that seems kind of inaccessible for language reasons, or for this notion that we have to come into the space knowing all of this musical language, the ways in which things are performed. But by pairing dance with the choral music, you're actually creating an opportunity for an accessible language, one that people can see the story unfold before their eyes. And in this case, Madison is unfolding the sorrow and the emotional depth that Henry Purcell captures in his musical composition, Hear My Prayer. And I hope that this collaboration will spark an interest for you in understanding ways in which choral music and dance mesh and engage with each other and highlight each other. And that is exactly what I found through doing this project, and I hope to continue this type of work in the future. So this is Hear My Prayer by Henry Purcell, with choreography by Madison Vomistek, video design and videography by Camilla Tassi, and the incredible musicianship of 8 Yale current students and alumni. Thank you.
But we're going to roll right on into our next piece. Noah, who you met earlier, also goes by Noah No, and he collaborated with a local creator and made an incredible film out of a poem that he wrote and performed. Thank you for that, Noah. How you doing? What's up?
A lot of emotions, you know what I mean? It's just so crazy seeing all this put like together. It's how I created this, how I kind of molded this together was because of the way in which it was my own COVID-19 reflection. And again, going through and seeing through these disparities of our time, I wanted to add something that wanted to add to a barrier in a way to create a balance. And again, from COVID-19, for personal experience as well too, I lost a friend during COVID-19. He was only 21 years old. And again, from that, and being an African American from central LA too, it's the fence is more so as a way of a reinforced symbol. As in, the picket fence was used before at times as a way to explain Black symbolism, in a way to destroy, in a way to counter that, as a saying that if I put this picket fence right here, I'm going to be here. No one's going to ever leave. But the thing is, it's not about leaving the other side. It's about looking over and seeing what the other person paints. And again, through how I reflect that, how I see like that is through the eyes of, what if we had this type of connection? What if we had this type of control? What if we were able to see through this madness, through this despair? What if we see people as people, and like, instead of these beasts, and like, instead of these inferior beings in which we amass? And again, there's also another incident I drew that from regarding picket fences as well, because it was in time in which I was racially biased as well too, back before in undergrad, back in Whittier as well too, by some crazy like things just happened again and again. But picket fence was a way to amplify that and give a voice to the people that are silent, giving a voice to those who are oppressed, but allowing them to rise up and paint their own narrative, to paint their own story, and not necessarily to paint the other person's story, but just to like encourage them to pick up a paintbrush themselves. And again, when I say color every picket fence, That's what I mean by saying don't leave with a blank narrative. Do not allow yourself to have a story that doesn't have an emphasis with the truth that you share, with like the narrative that like you bring. Whether you are an ally, whether if you are left wing or right wing, whether like you're black or white, no matter what kind of divisions you try to harbor or also try to create within yourself, know that you have a chance to paint your story. And the picket fence was the best way to amplify that, to control, but also at the same time to give free will to those who are able to see behind the fence. And that's kind of the ignorance in which I wanted to locate within this as well.
All right. Chang, your work is up next. Wow, Chang, oh my goodness. I love seeing these comments in the chat. I also used to live in Worcester Square, so shout out to, who was that, Patricia. I got the same feeling, and watching those dates scroll by and thinking, wow, I remember that John Oliver episode too, like those dates, and it is this incredible, chronicle of what you were going through. And, well, we were all obviously going through our own, journeys at that time, but you were creating right in the midst of that. What can you say about that?
Well, thank you so much, everyone. It's such encouraging words. I actually never considered myself an artist. I never got any formal training or anything. It's just kind of a hobbyist, but glad you all enjoy it. I love to share the joy. So the project was born from an elective by the medical school. When COVID first hit, everything was shut down, and medical school quickly put together a couple of online electives that we can take. So this started from an elective called History of the Present, and I can show you my little sketchbook right here. I actually got this as a birthday gift many years ago from a good friend of mine, and I always meant to do some sketches, but life got in the way until COVID. So yeah, I guess I can flip through it. This is what it looks like, and so those are the lovely pieces that you saw earlier. So yeah, so this is what it looks like. And I continue to do a couple more sketches after the course ended. I like to find joy in the small things, and I'm not a good writer and not even a good artist, I don't think, but I like dotting these things down so I can look back. It's like me looking back at my photos and remember the good times. I know COVID is really, really hard. I'm an international student, so I haven't been able to go home since, the end of 2019. But that's not to say there isn't pleasure in the small things. You just have to open up your eyes and look for them. So I guess I wanted to find the light even in the darkest times, and this allowed me to do that, and I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did, and I know that I'm not alone. And so thank you so much for sharing such personal work with us. It was so great to be able to, feel like we're flipping through your notebook there and, see the picture and then read on the next page the dedication that you made and the date that you made it. And I also want to give a shout out as well to the center's director of marketing and communications, who put that video together and honestly has done a tremendous job creating this whole gallery, which we're going to share at the end of this meeting. So Maurice Harris, thank you so much. Hey, there he is. Thank you for all the tireless work that you've put into this and helping bring all these projects to life in this way. So I'm going to share actually the time lapse video, Alice, that you created, which led to the visual art that you had here. Alice, I'm so glad, because you originally submitted that piece as a
as a still image.
As an image, as a still image. That's the word I was looking for. And then you shared this, and you get to see this whole process evolve. So can you tell us a little bit about your process, about what it was like creating this, how you were inspired to make this particular piece and what it was?
So I took this class first semester, and it was called Painting Time. So a concept that we explored a lot in the different assignments that we had for class is how we can illustrate time passing in like a very still, it is a time lapse of a single painting. essentially I made the first iteration of it for as like a still image of what I saw in my dorm through my window. And so I had this really good view of like our little courtyard with a tree, and then obviously like what was on my screen. And then as you can see, like, the leaves are changing colors. There's like rainy days and there's sunny days. And I've moved my plant around, trying to rearrange my space. There was a fan at the beginning when it was really hot, and then it sort of mysteriously disappeared in the winter. And now that it's hot again, I think I need it back. But so I was like submitting these iterations of the same painting for these various assignments, and my professor really liked them. And she asked me if I would consider making it like a video installation, or if I would consider like recording myself. But fortunately for me, the software that I use, which is Procreate on the iPad, automatically records every stroke that you make. So I was able to grab the little hours of footage, condense it into maybe about 16 minutes. And it was like really hours. It was like maybe like 30 hours or so. But over like the course of like a month. But I was able to grab the 16 minutes of like straight through painting, and I was able to sort of compile it together and sort of layer it on top of each other, so that I was drawing in different scenes at the same time, but then the light would layer in like a really interesting way. I thought that would be like fun. And my professor ended up really liking it, and I really like the work as like a sort of like a souvenir almost of my first semester, because I really did spend the majority of my first semester at Yale sitting in front of that desk on that computer watching like the leaves blow in and stuff through my open window.
That's incredible. I'm going to share the screen one more time just so people can see the final image in its fullest form there. And I believe I thought I saw some, did I see a question in the chat? Yeah, from Kate. So if you don't mind, for us, Alice, is that a single, is that time lapse of a single painting is what the question is?
I was thinking of it as the artwork being the video piece rather than being the art itself. As you can see in the final piece, a lot of the beautiful parts of the first iterations aren't even visible anymore, just because that they're covered up. But like, with like the technology and like video, it's obviously all captured, and you get to enjoy it as like a sort of like animation of sorts,
Yeah, absolutely. Completely get that. I love it, Patricia. Can't take my eyes away. Thank you. All right. Well, so we've come to our last piece that we're going to be sharing today, and that is a poem written by Michaela Conley. Michaela, when you submitted this, I reached back as soon as I had read it. I reached back and I was like, I'm from California. My dog's name is Poppy, my favorite flower. Like this was so touching in so many ways. And I can tell that it was, something deeply heartfelt from you.
Yeah, I appreciated that email, as I haven't been back since my family actually moved, and that's kind of what this poem was about. So yeah, in the beginning of COVID, when everyone was hunkering down at home, quarantining, I'm an undergraduate, so I was sent home from Yale. And the meaning of home was shifting because my family had decided for various reasons that we had to leave California. Some were in our control, some were out of our control. And we didn't know entirely where we were going to settle, just that it was going to be back east somewhere. And so the whole process of COVID was interesting because I lived in that childhood home for 12 years, and I lived somewhere very close by in California before that. So it was very much my home my whole life. And suddenly what I thought was another temporary permanent home of Yale was also taken away, and we didn't know if we're coming back in the fall. And so, yeah, it was kind of an interesting time not knowing where I'd be in 2 weeks, let alone 2 months. And so this poem was written, it was kind of a collection of journal entries, but especially after one moment when I went on this trail called Hillbrook Trail. I was lucky enough to grow up kind of at the base of the Santa Cruz Mountains, if anyone's familiar with California geography. And we have beautiful, beautiful trails. Our town boasts we have more trails than roads in terms of mileage. So lots of outdoor space. And yeah, this poem is written, California poppies are my favorite flower. And I was taking a hike after a particularly rough day with Zoom class and everything that was going on. And I knew I was leaving soon, and almost seemed like it was like speaking to me. Like the California poppies, like all of a sudden just appeared out of nowhere. And I'd hiked this trail a million times, and I'd never really taken the moment to realize, like, it felt like my beloved Hillbrook was saying goodbye, and that it was a place that I had gone for so long, but I hadn't really stopped to take the time, because I quite honestly hadn't had the time before COVID to kind of be stuck there for so long, not really leaving my house or my town at all. And yeah, it was very, I'd say, transformative experience, and that's kind of where the poem came from.
That is so incredible. I know those mountains that you're talking about. I see Kate. Kate's still dreaming about that land. It's absolutely incredible and so awe-inspiring, and so incredible that you put those words that we can all enjoy and share and get a touch of what that was. So thank you, Michaela, Chang, Noah, Nikki, Alice, everyone, Jennifer, Maurice, everyone who's hung out with us here. We have a little bit of time if anyone has a burning question that they really wanted to ask. Jennifer, I see you've got your hand raised, and so feel free. You got questions for the group or individuals, jump on in, and if anyone else feels like they've got something they'd like to know, now's the time.
Yeah, the word time, it keeps coming up for me, and everybody's piece, right? It's like how you spent time, how time passed in front of you, how you experienced time to reflect. So I'm really curious that for everyone, maybe there's just a chance to hear from each one of you about how are you perceiving time, or what are your hopes as we move into this next version of where we are. I'm curious about, sort of, the change for you. Yes, I'm gonna stop talking. Those are my questions for everyone. If everyone could just answer maybe one at a time.
It makes me think about this quote. I think it was like, time that you enjoyed wasted is not time that you wasted. Well, I think the quote said it more eloquently than what I just said, but it was something along those lines. And I've been thinking about it a lot more. I've been getting back into reading, which I've like wanted to do for forever, but I always felt like I didn't have the time for when I was in high school. And in quarantine, I felt like time was moving weirdly, where like I also didn't, energy was also strange. I felt like my energy levels were a lot lower, which was like the opposite of what I expected, because I was like, I'm at home doing nothing. I should be like bouncing off the walls. But it was completely the opposite.
I totally feel that, Alice. I think I definitely felt like I had super low energy. And also I think this past year has just been both the slowest and the fastest at various points. And it's been wild. But I think in terms of time, especially as I'm getting older and trying to see like what my life would or could look like, I think something I have realized during the pandemic is just keeping what's important to me really part of my life. I think I realized that maybe this idea of success is not necessarily what I need or really want. Maybe I want to spend time with my friends, and that is my version of success. And finding a way to be happy or creating art and, staying involved with who I really am is something that I hope to continue prioritizing with my time in the future.
Totally echo your sense of time has been really slow and fast at the same time. I think I keep waiting for something to happen or something to change, but that has been slow. Nothing really changed yet. The year and a half just flew by. It reminded me of a poem by Mary Oliver. She said, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? I often think about that line and think about what I want to do with my one precious life. When I was younger, I was interested in a lot of things. I love traveling, I love music, I love art. Has never really been focused on one thing. And I thought as I grew up, I would narrow down to my field of study, but that hasn't happened. Maybe I'm just too optimistic to think that I can keep all my hobbies going forward. But I think if it's important enough to you, you will keep it going. But I think even in these days, like uh, all fields are recognizing the value of like other fields. So shout out to Program for the Humanities in Medicine at Yale. I think these organizations are getting more and more prominent and popular because I think people realized that life, there's lots of things make life worth living for.
I couldn't agree more, and I also hope that you keep all your hobbies going because they're gifts to the world. Yeah, Noah, you wanted to say something?
Just kind of just wanted to say with that, keeping your energy is so crucial during like these times itself. When I was going through the poem, when I was writing everything out itself, it is very important to take time for yourself. Self-care is very important. I mean, extremely important during like these times as well. I mean, as soon as we see different events on television as well too, through social media, as in like the current events that are happening right now, it is okay to take breaks because again, if it's deeply connected with and you, if it's something that is painted on your narrative, you have to take time to rest, or else you're going to add on to it again and again. And it necessarily doesn't become a place for you to heal, but it becomes a place for you to hurt. So again, there is time for action, but there's also time for healing as well too. And it isn't necessarily done in a way that can be done at the same time, as in you have to take consecutive breaks that give time for healing, for action, and then you interact with how you engage with your own healing through self-like care as well too. You can't help anybody else until you help out yourself, and that allows for so much growth, and it also allows for you to open up to a loving community as well, or finding that community that like begins to love.
Oh my God, Noah, absolutely incredible. Michaela, you're going to round us out on this conversation here?
Yeah, just to pop in, I know we're almost out of time. But yeah, for me, kind of the sense of time, especially in the spring, not to go back to the flowers, but that sense of renewal, and that no matter how harsh the winter was, the flowers always come again, the spring always comes again, is no matter how long it may seem, there's always kind of this light at the end of the tunnel. And that's sort of what I experienced in that moment as well. And so through the pandemic, like people have been saying, there were very, very fast times, very, very slow times. I think especially in those first few months, it felt very slow when we didn't really know what was happening. And yeah, like Noah's just saying, like taking those moments to step out of it, to not look at the numbers for a couple of hours or maybe a couple of days. And yeah, to really kind of focus on yourself or those close to you, makes the time that's very slow well spent as well.
Thank you so much. That's, I think, a perfect way to close, and perfect thing for us to be thinking about as we close out this meeting. There are a few more pieces, so we encourage everyone to go check it out, spend some time with the pieces and artists that you saw today, and see what else we have up there. And thank you so much to our artists here for sharing their talent, their artistry, and their time with us. And thank you for everyone who's here with us today. We hope this is just a small part of how you're going about and living and experiencing all the beautiful creativity that's happening here at Yale and Greater New Haven and beyond. So it was absolutely a pleasure to be here with you all, and thank you. Have a great, beautiful weekend.